Shalom and welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, JulieTaylor, hosting from Palmer, Alaska, and broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, with another episode of Women's World with Leah Michaelson from the Holy Land of Israel. Good evening.
And good morning. It's
Thank
so good
you.
to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you too. 2 weeks is way too long.
It is. It's too much. I get my Jules withdrawals.
Oh, yeah.
How
we
are
need
you?
Each other.
We do. We absolutely do. I love our time together.
I do too. Baruch Hashem, I'm doing excellent. So
good.
How are things with you?
Good. Baruch Hashem. I mean, we're moving and grooving here, and
yeah.
it's fun times.
Yes. Well, it's like kindergarten around here with all my goats and chickens, and it's like, Abigail, get off of that.
Oh,
Shoshana, stop biting. It's just like I know the reason people use the term goat rope, because I
haven't heard that.
Yeah, I have them staked out because their pen is not completely done yet. So they sleep in a horse trailer, but then I stake them out during the day so they can graze. But they're constantly twisting their ropes together and getting wrapped around a tree. And so I'm getting a lot of exercise.
Okay, so kids being kids.
Kids being kids. Kindergarten class all day long.
Oh, yeah, but it sounds like it's fun.
It is fun. It's amazing how they just penetrated my heart so quickly. It's just like they're my babies. They're so sweet.
But you have such a big heart, so
you're so sweet
for them to do.
Oh, yeah. My fiance Jim goes, "You are such a goat mama." I'm like, I guess I am.
No bad words to say. Only good.
That's cute.
Ladies, can you tell it's been a while? So we've got the silliness going on too.
Oh, yeah. Well, silliness is good.
Yes, it helps to lighten things up in the things that are happening. I just, seeing what's going on in the world, and here we've got increases in the COVID-19 cases. Unfortunately, it's crazy how much it increased. I mean, at the peak of, I guess, the first wave, I could say we're in the second wave. I don't know. But then we had hardly anything here in the city. And now we have 42 cases in Spot alone. Yeah. And there's up to 500 cases a day now. So,
oh my goodness.
So things have opened up. And so there's a lot of people that listen and they'll wear the mask. Others are not wearing the mask. So the country's instituted a fine. So if anybody is caught without a mask, I want to say it's about 500 shekels, which comes out to about 145, between $145, $150 fine.
Well, that's a pretty hefty fine.
Yeah, and they've done well over 20,000 shekels in fines now. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're being very strict. There's an app on the phone, so you can check to see if you've been around anyone. They also, anybody that has the COVID-19, they have GPS. So they actually can track every single person.
Oh, wow.
And they will go to the person's house to make sure that they are there and they're following all the guidelines.
That's kind of actually scary if gotten into the wrong hands, huh?
Yeah.
As far as being able to be tracked like that.
Yeah, well, Israeli security is pretty tight. It's really good here. And, there's been hackers with other things, but they haven't been able to get through. And now, because of what we're seeing with what's going on in the world, there actually is 900 applications for Aliyah in the month of June.
Oh, wow. Is that a record number?
Yes.
A high number? Yeah.
It's a very high number. It's not something that NBN, Nefesh B'Nefesh, usually sees. It's usually in small increments. I mean, there's certain months, but with everything going on, people are deciding, okay, you know what? It's time to come home.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to come home and to be in Israel. So we're taking it as it comes. Yitzchak and I continue to follow the restrictions. We're always in masks, and it's a little tough because it's hot right now. It's now just after 5. It's almost 5:15 here in the evening, and it's still about 84 degrees. So, but I know it's pretty hot in the U.S. now as well. And
well, it's chilly here right now, but you're about double my temperature this morning.
Then you need to send a little bit of that coolness to William in Texas.
Yeah. I know. Let's trade off a little bit.
Kind of balance things out a little bit.
That would be nice. Yeah.
So I had an interesting thing happen this week.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
I saw an acquaintance this past week, and so we were both walking on the road coming from different directions. And she yelled out, asked me how I am. And of course, Baruch Hashem, I'm great, because even in the midst of this, I choose to be good, to be great and try and see the beauty in everything. And it doesn't always happen, okay? But I just try my best.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, I said, how are you? And she goes, I'm maintaining. That's all we can do right now. Just maintain.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I thought to myself, and I'm like, the whole way home, I'm thinking, I don't want to maintain. I mean, I understand for her, and maybe, she just needs that status quo, but I don't want to just maintain where I am. I want to keep moving forward, and just praying for her that Hashem would help her and all this. I mean, I can understand, and I understand if, there are those of us that are in that place where, that's where you are, and that's all you can do is maintain right now. It's okay.
That may have been the most positive thing she could have said at the moment.
Right.
Could have been.
Right. So it's very possible. And so, but I'm just praying for her to be able to move forward and not just maintain. And for anybody that's in that kind of that place, I mean, we all are experiencing different things.
We are. Yeah.
So in praying that for her, I want to dedicate the show for the protection for all the men and women who are serving to protect us. So all throughout the world, whether it's all our soldiers, our policemen, our firemen, the ambulance drivers, anybody that serves in that place that to protect us, that Hashem should protect them as well.
Amen. Yes.
And also for refuah shlema for all those who are still suffering from the illness with the COVID-19 or any other ailments or anything that people are suffering with physically, spiritually, mentally. Just Hashem would bring his touch and bring a healing to our world. We all need a touch.
We do. Excellent.
So, I know our last show, Jules, was a bit intense.
It was a little intense.
But it was good.
It was. Quick reminder, too, for any guys that are watching that you please refrain from commenting just so us girls have a place to talk that's safe. We don't mind you watching, but it's a girl's place. Women's world.
Yes.
So,
yes, it is. And thank you for understanding, gentlemen. We appreciate it. So, but with our last show, we talked about the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, and we talked about the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, and that we are all Hashem's creation. So, ladies, remember, we're all Hashem's creation. So, the title of the show is The Divine Image. What do we see? What are we looking at? I know we spoke on our last show. We talked about what we're seeing happening in the world, and we're still seeing things going on. What do we see in ourselves and others? So today, let's talk about Lashon Hara. What is that? It's the evil tongue or the evil language. Words are very powerful. This thing is very powerful that we have in our mouths. And Proverbs 18:21 says that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. So with Lashon Hara, another definition is defamation, or the act of defaming, or false or unjustified injury of the good reputation of another. And I know, Julie, we're seeing so much with people speaking badly about others these days and what's going on in the world, and just even in daily life, we're just seeing so much nasty talk about others, so much Lashon Hara. So I want to share a mashal with you that my husband shared with me from a dear friend of ours. So what's a mashal? A mashal is a short parable with a moral lesson. And this dear friend of ours, he's very funny. He loves to joke, and he's an artist. And he was speaking about a time when he was in an art class and they were painting a model. And the model's in the middle of the room. And so each artist is positioned all around the model. And he had a very specific line of view from where he was to where the model was, so to sit and paint. And he said he realized that was his truth. From what he saw from his point was his truth. And in the mashal he shared, he said each artist had a different view, a different perspective. Each one was painting a different part of the model, but the model was one person. So they all had a different view with it. And in saying this, I want to say that we all need to have achdut. And what does that mean? Achdut means unity. It doesn't mean that we all think the same, we look the same, or we agree about everything. Achdut means that even though we look or think or behave or believe, etc., differently, we still feel and behave as a family, as if we are one big family. And I know in families, I know with mine, and I know with others, there are times where family members do not agree on something. It happens. But that doesn't mean that we should tear each other to shreds. And that's what Lashon Hara does. It tears things up. It tears things to shreds. Now, there are exceptions to the rule for Lashon Hara. There are times that we're allowed to speak and share negative information about others. There are times it's an obligation to do so. For example, let's say a friend is about to become financially involved with a person who we know to be unethical, or someone is dating a person that we know to be abusive or otherwise is just not suitable for them, or even for a child that has information that will prevent harm from occurring. These are all times that we are obligated to say something. It's for the protection of that person. So we're talking about Lashon Hara and speaking badly about others. What about ourselves? The Chafetz Chaim, which means the desire of life, and this was in the Chafetz Chaim, who was Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan, an amazing, amazing person, a halachist, a posek, an ethicist, whose works continue to be widely influenced in Jewish life. He wrote a book on Lashon Hara in 1873 on the laws of gossip and slander. And there's a really beautiful story about him, and I want to share with you. The Chafetz Chaim was riding on a train back to his hometown of Radin, and at one of the stops, a Jewish man got on the train and he sat down next to the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim said, "Shalom Aleichem, where are you traveling to?" The man didn't know who he was sitting next to, so he answered, "Oh, I'm going to Radin to visit the Chafetz Chaim." The Chafetz Chaim was a very modest person, so he said, the Chafetz Chaim is not so great. The man was very sad to hear this. old man saying bad things about the Chafetz Chaim. He's like, how can you say bad things about the Chafetz Chaim? He's one of the greatest tzaddikim that ever lived. The Chafetz Chaim answered, I know him, and he's not such a great tzaddik. When the man heard those words, he became very angry. He hit the Chafetz Chaim, and then he changed to a different seat. As the train came to Radin, the man was very surprised to see that a large group of people had come to meet the old man, talking about the Chafetz Chaim. He asked them why they had come to meet this old man, and they told him, because he is the great Chafetz Chaim. When the man heard this, he ran over to the Chafetz Chaim with tears streaming down his face, and he begged for forgiveness. The Chafetz Chaim felt bad because he had made the man so sad. And he said that now he had learned a lesson. Just as we must never say Lashon Hara about other people, we must never say bad things about ourselves. And there's a beautiful song to this. It's Mi Ha'ish Hechafetz Chaim, Ohev Yamim Lirot Tov, Netzor Lashoncha Meira, Usfatecha Medaber Mirma, Sor Meira Ba'aseh Tov, Bake Shalom Urat Fe. And it's from Psalm 34, 13 to 15. Who is the man that desires life and loves many days, that he may see good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Now, each week I always, Jules, like in my prayers, I'm always asking Hashem, what should we talk about for the show? And we had started talking about this a couple weeks ago, and I'm just so glad that we're able to talk about it now. And there are different things that happen during the week that will spark something. And I love how Hashem works in everything. And there's times where we need to embrace ourselves. Recently I had a conversation with a friend, and we started talking about different things that we're seeing as we get older. So I started thinking of beauty, and we talked about a number of things, like when we look at ourselves in the mirror and it's like, oh, here's the age spots, oh, the wrinkles, oh, here's the gray hair coming out, or silver. And the things that we look, and it's like all of a sudden we start to pick at ourselves.
Oh yeah, we do, don't we?
We do. We absolutely do. And it's a question of like embracing ourselves. In Psalm 16:31, it says, gray hair is a crown of glory, and it is gained in a righteous life. And I was reminded of a photo I saw of an elderly woman. And she had this long, beautiful, like white, silvery hair. And she was sitting, and a child was standing next to her brushing her hair. And it was just so beautiful. And so for me, it's like when the silver started coming in, I was like, I don't know. And it's like, so I was coloring my hair. And then for me, and ladies, I'm just talking about for myself, I decided, all right, you know what? I'm going to embrace this. And I did. And so I stopped coloring my hair. I was doing it even wearing a tichel. Now, ladies, if you color your hair, beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and that's what you embrace. So for me, I was just embracing this part of myself getting older. And we're all at different stages of our life, and we're all in different situations. And I want to share with you, I didn't share at the beginning, Jules, but I have a beautiful new grandniece now. She was actually born a few days ago. And so in talking about like situations in different stages of our lives, my niece Kate, who just gave birth, she had a very challenging pregnancy. I mean, she was sick the entire time. Oh. And I mean, it was very rough for her. And then she had a very tough delivery. She did a home birth. And Baruch Hashem, both she and the baby are doing great.
Good.
And she is an amazing woman. She being courageous and persevering through this entire pregnancy and the delivery. So, but because of the tough delivery that she had, she has to stay in bed for her recovery time. And this has been very hard for her because she is a person that is always on the go. Her and her husband run a business, and I mean, it's nothing for her. It's like when I'm talking to her, she could be looking at 2 computers, talking with me on the phone, taking care of her daughter who's 5, and also homeschooling. So for her, she was embracing this time, because there's nothing that she can do about it. And it's all a matter of perspective. We all have changes in our bodies. So even for women that are gray, some go prematurely gray. It's become very popular these days. And with the changes in our bodies, there are some women that might have scars from a C-section or stretch marks from a pregnancy, from carrying a child. And I know for some women that I've talked to, it's very difficult for them to see this. And I understand that. I do. I do understand from their perspective, and that's where they're at, and I embrace them where they're at. But what if we try and turn that around rather than see it as a negative? What if we try and turn that around and look at the beautiful reminder that it is and what our bodies were made to do? And, for me, I wish I had that type of mark. So I applaud all you amazing, beautiful women that have gone through this and may have a scar from it, to be able to maybe try and turn it around to look at it as something beautiful, as a reminder of these amazing gifts that Hashem has given. We also have terms like bread belly or muffin top. When I was with my friend, I was like, oy vavoy, it's like anytime I eat bread, here we go. It's going right to the belly. And I'm like, see, look at my bread belly. We don't realize in the things that we say, we say it jokingly, but really, what are we doing to ourselves? Right, Jules?
Right.
There's Yiddish terms like, for instance, Gazinta. So what do I mean by Gazinta? What I would always say is I have an hourglass figure, but there's just a little bit more sand in the bottom part of the hourglass. So that's the gazinta, having that, or zoftig when a woman is voluptuous or buxom. And, in saying all of this, ladies, when you're feeling like that, or, for women that have had surgeries, or even from weight gain and then you've lost, but you have the stretch marks. These are all things, and I understand. I know with myself, sometimes I look and I go, ugh, but then what am I doing? I'm speaking badly about myself, about Hashem's creation. And I understand it's how we feel, and no one is denying your feelings, because you can't take someone's feelings away. It's just how they feel. But we also need to be careful with the things that we do say, even about ourselves. Why do we do this? What is it that causes us not to see ourselves as beautiful and speak badly about ourselves? And I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, look at society and how women are objectified, or the worldview of women, with clothes, makeup, and all the beauty products. And they're wonderful. I really like clothes and makeup and beauty products. But I remember a friend telling me some time ago, when it came to like clothing, that like manufacturers, I don't know specifically who, but she was saying, you know what? They're making them smaller, but they're still putting the same sizes on the clothes. And I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen for myself, where at one time where I've been just one specific size, I could have 3 different sizes. I could go from a 6 to an 8 to a 12, but they all fit. So what does that say? We have times where we compare ourselves to others. there are those of us that were bullied growing up, and maybe some are even still being bullied to this day. I mean, there were things that were said about me, and I started looking at myself in a different way. I mean, I was called, okay, I don't want to swear, so I was just called fat butt when I was a kid, you know, which talked about my gazinta, or like different things. Or if something happens, like for example, you can see my finger. So I had an accident when I was almost 3, and my finger was cut off, and it was a very traumatic time. I mean, I do actually remember quite a bit of it, and so not to get into details or anything, but you know, the surgeons were able to sew part of it back on, but part of my finger they couldn't. And so I was teased so much growing up that I actually used to hold my hand like this. And so, and I wouldn't use my finger. And my father, thinking he was doing a wonderful thing, he was like, hey, you're not using it? No problem. We'll cut it off the rest of the way. So, you know, parents make mistakes. It happens. So, but I started using my finger after that. But anyways, but I decided after a period of time to turn it around into something positive, where those people would either be afraid to touch my finger or just like be horrified or like just or tease about it even into adulthood. So I decided I made an inchworm out of it. So I would paint like a little face, like a little smiley face here, and I would just make like a little inchworm like this. And so the kids loved it. People weren't afraid anymore, and they would even think it's cute. So anyways, enough with that. There are times we question our value and our worth. Sometimes we can make a mountain out of a molehill. Have you ever experienced that, Jules?
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah. So I think we all do it. And I was trying to think of an example. And the only thing I could think of, and maybe you have something else, Jules, you could share. The only thing I can think of is even as a teen, and sometimes for those of us as adults, you know, you get a little blemish on the face. And it could be this tiny, tiny little thing, but we make a mountain out of a molehill because this tiny little thing, oh no, this thing is covering my face, you know?
Yes, the flashing neon light, yeah.
Right, here it is, you know, ding, 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 right?
Exactly.
We've made a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
Out of something so small. But we can see this even in TORAH, like in Parsha Shalach. Now, the people didn't listen to Moshe and take the path to go to the top of the mountain. Instead, they stayed in the valley. So he sent the spies out, and all the spies, except for Joshua and Caleb, brought back a bad report. They spoke Lashon Hara against the land, against Hashem's holy land. And we see this also in the Chafetz Chaim in Preface 6, where he talks about the sin of the spies and that, you know, they spoke the Lashon Hara and that it's imperative that we correct the sin before the redemption can take place. Now, if they had gone up to the mountain like they were supposed to, they would have seen how tiny the people were. Like for here in Sfat, I'm in this amazing holy city. Sfat is actually the highest elevated city in Israel. And so where I am, I'm almost at the very top of the mountain. So when I'm looking down the mountain, cars, people, buildings are so much smaller. So they would have just seen, oh, okay, it's not so bad. What are you going to do? It's what happened. So, but in speaking about Lashon Hara, we need to remember that we're Hashem's creation. Each of us has a divine spark. So when we're speaking Lashon Hara about ourselves, then we're speaking against Hashem's creation, us. And we're believing the bad things that others say rather than believing what Hashem says about us. So let's take a look at some things that TORAH says. In Genesis 1:27, we're created in his image. In Psalm 139, in verse 14, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. And in 15 to 16, my frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your books were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there were none of them. How about his thoughts towards us? And in 139, 17, 18, we see, how precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake and I am still with you. These verses are some of my absolute favorite because I think about all the thoughts that Hashem has. So, like grains of sand, think of all the grains of sand. And I decided to Google it. I was just curious. There's roughly here, and this is going by all the beaches and the deserts in the world, roughly 7 quintillion, 500 quadrillion grains. Phew. Trying to get that out. It's a mouthful. That's a lot. All those thoughts that Hashem has towards us. How beautiful, ladies, is that? How about our worth? We see this in Proverbs 31. In verse 10, she is far more precious than jewels. In verse 17, she dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. In verse 25, strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the times to come. Verse 26, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Beautiful things in how Hashem sees us, ladies, and the worth that we have as women. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and we need to see the beauty in ourselves and also the beauty in others. My husband sees me as beautiful just the way I am. He's often said, he goes, I could put a potato sack on myself and he would still see me as beautiful. And for him, my husband's a big man. I married him big. I love big men. And my husband is just the most handsome, wonderful man in the world. He's amazing. And he's such a great blessing.
That's awesome.
And recently I read this article because we're talking about how we speak towards others and towards ourselves. And it was a little, I don't know what's the word I want to use, daunting. I mean, it was upsetting. And it was an article, it was a story of 2 girls because they were talking about baseless hatred. And so these 2 girls were playing the love-hate game. And they started, and so one of the girls had no idea what the game was. It was called the hate game. And so the other girl was like, oh, well, we have to go to a really busy place. And so because we have to look at people, and then we're just going to start saying bad things about them. And that's what they did. So they went to like a big bus station area, and there's so many people coming and going. And so the one girl says to the other, oh, look at that person. Look at what he's wearing. Oh, look at this, look, and they started just tearing these people down. And the other girl who didn't know about the story now starts getting into it and was like, oh, you're right. Oh, look at that person over there. And what about that person? I mean, just constantly nasty things to the point where the one girl that was just learning all of a sudden says, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? This is terrible. And turned it around saying, what about the love game? What about if we look at someone and say, oh, I love what they're wearing. Look how beautiful and shiny, and look how it makes that person look. And you can just see them shining even through it. Or, oh, that person just got on the phone. Oh, they're probably calling their mom just to say hello and see how she is. And, then they turned it around.
Oh,
and so
good.
So we need to do that. When we get into those moments, or, in speaking about others and speaking about ourselves, we need to love ourselves. How many times have we received a compliment When somebody said, oh, you look so beautiful today, and you look and you go, ugh, oh, you got to be kidding. I woke up, I'm still puffy, and this is going on, and my hair didn't come out right, or I couldn't tie my tichel right, or, it's, or I gained weight. And so can we not take the compliments? And I was listening, a friend of mine posted this video on Facebook by this person named Eva DeVirgilis, and she does women's empowerment. And so we can't play the video on air, but I want to tell you the story that happened. I'm going to just from between each of the women. She had just finished doing a show, and a 70-year-old woman came up to her, and she was like, I love your show, and I love your blazer. So I was like, oh God, it was like $5. Oh, I probably smell. And the woman's like, Eva, a compliment is like a tiny gift somebody bought just for you. They saw it, they thought of you, they bought it, and had it specially gift wrapped for you. They presented you with the gift, you opened it up, and you go, oh God, this, and you drop kick their gift. Don't drop kick my gift. Say thank you and smile. So when somebody gives us that compliment, they're giving us that gift because they see the beauty. They see how we look, and wow, you look beautiful. And even though we may not feel it, somebody is actually seeing it within us. Hashem says, be holy, for I am holy. We are already holy. Now we just need to act like it. We can make a difference in the lives we touch, and we do. And we should continue to do this. I read a quote from a woman that I was reading about. Her name was Henny Mechlis. And she was a woman that always looked past what was seen on the outside of a person, and she could see inside of them. And her quote was, you're not seeing your own tremendous, holy, divine potential. And I really understood what she meant. I was listening to I had something called Soul Mazel, where a rabbi actually did a whole reading, like with my name and looking in the gematria and different things and explaining different things. And and this was done some years ago, and I just listened to it again, and it was so true for what's going on in my life right now. But one of the things that stood out in this was that my husband said to me some years ago that there are going to be traits you think you don't have, but you do, and they just need to come out. We need to believe in ourselves, and we need to love ourselves. We have to be careful not to fall into comparing ourselves to others, saying, oh, I could never do what she's doing. That's okay. Know that maybe that's not what you're meant to do. Hashem has something very specific for you to do that's great. Just as whatever this other person is doing is just as great as what you're going to be doing. You need to remember that you're a creation of Hashem, that you are holy, that you've been given a divine spark, and that He sees you as His beautiful creation. We need to see it also. So when we look at ourselves in the mirror, maybe instead of saying, oh, look at this, and oh, look at this, because I know I do it, maybe we need to speak the wonderful words to ourselves in that. Because we are beautiful inside and out. And ladies, you shine, you are worth so much. So much. You're touching the lives around you every day and making a difference, whether as a mom, as a wife, as a daughter, as an aunt, as a sister, a cousin, a friend. In whatever aspect, you're making a difference in the lives that you touch every day. So I just encourage you to see yourself the way Hashem sees you, the way a friend sees you when they come and say, oh, you're so beautiful. How you doing today? And okay, so maybe you're having a rough day, but then we're here to tell you, okay, it's all right. Having a rough day, I had a very rough day yesterday. I was like, it was just an extremely rough day, and it was a push to get myself out of it. And Baruch Hashem for the friend that spoke wonderful words to me and helped push me to get out of it.
Excellent.
So ladies, continue what you're doing. Look at yourself as the incredible treasure and beautiful creation of Hashem that you are. Keep shining. You already are, and in things you're doing, you'll shine even brighter. Just continue to blossom and shine bright. I just encourage you and just send so much love to you all.
Oh, your words are so needed by so many, especially me. I mean, that's one thing that I'm learning a lot from this show, because you interject it every week about our inner beauty and how Hashem sees us, and we need to hear it so much. I wanted to share a quick story about an article I read a long time ago about this woman who had taken some professional photographs for her husband for a gift. And I think it was for his birthday or something. And so she had the photographer edit out her stretch marks and edit out, the cellulite and all the things that she hated about her body. She had him edit it, and she presented her husband with these photos in this beautiful book, and she was so excited. And he looked at them, and he had a tear in his eye. And she's like, "What? You don't like them? What's wrong?" And he said, you edited out all the beautiful things that I love about you. When I see your stretch marks, it reminds me about the beautiful children that you birthed for us. And when I see this scar or that scar, he goes, it's beauty to me. It's not a blemish, And so we have to remember that too, that our husbands kind of look through rose-colored glasses at us too. They don't see those things, but we have to change our mindset and look at those positive things about ourselves. So
absolutely.
Excellent reminder.
Yeah,
Excellent
absolutely.
reminder.
Well, we're all on a journey, and
We are.
Scars, stretch marks, wrinkles that happen, it's all part of our journey that we're on. And it's things that tell us, the different places that we've been in our journey. And, our husbands or fiancés or, just the people in our lives that tell us that we're beautiful is because they do see the beauty.
They do. And think about the way we see them too, my fiance will say, "Oh, sorry, my hair looks terrible today." And I'm like, I hadn't even noticed. You look handsome to me,
Right.
And so, the way we look at others, they look at us that way too.
And I think about when you look at a burn victim, and we've seen so much and how beautiful they are. I think I was a fireman once. I don't know if it was a fireman or if it was a soldier that was burned so badly that, his face, ears, everything was like just burnt off. But his wife looked at him with such love, and his child looked at him with such love, and then they had another child. So it really, there are things that we look past because it's like, okay, so what? I see the beauty.
Right. The inner beauty.
Yeah. I love that article you shared. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it really hit me and stuck with me. I probably read it like 20 years ago, but I think about it often because it did make an impact. And
we all need reminders.
We do. All you lovely ladies out there, we appreciate you tuning in and giving us the support. And we love your feedback, your questions, your comments. Keep them coming. Suggestions for shows. We just love interacting with you girls, and hope you're enjoying the show. And we will continue as long as possible. If you're enjoying Women's World, please like it. Please share it on Facebook. Share it with your friends. Donate if you can. Buy us a cup of coffee. I know people do that on some of the other shows, and keep us going. Keep the studio going. Keep these shows coming, and we hope to be on as long as Hashem allows us to. It's a beautiful thing. It's something I look forward to every week. And those last 2 weeks we weren't on were really tough.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was tough. I missed it too. I love being with you all.
I look forward to seeing what we have next week. What beautiful words you have of encouragement for us all next week.
Amen.
Same time, same place, Amen. Girls. And we will see you next Monday, 9 a.m. Central. Mwah. I love you.
Love you.
Have a wonderful week.
חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד